Hey guys, what's up? I had an invasion today that I thought was really a good example of how to manage parties that do not want to advance through a level. This is a problem that I encounter. I imagine most invaders encounter from time to time. But let me set up the situation here a little bit. So obviously I'm invading in Dragonkin Mausoleum, kind of looking around, and I usually first look to see if the mage is alive, and I miss the party behind me. So it's pretty bad situational awareness on my part. So I'm already in some pretty big trouble here. So I book it for the PvE here to get some cover so I can heal. Um, but I find pretty quickly here that they don't want to come down here, and I don't blame them. Obviously, there's a lot of enemies down here, and this is much more advantageous for me, which is why I'm here, and it's why they don't want to come down here. And so it creates this kind of stalemate situation where I certainly don't want to go up there and get ganked, and they don't want to come down here and get ganked by me in the PvE. And so it ends up being kind of this stalemate situation. You'll typically hear people say things like, it's a matter of who gives up first or who loses patience first. But realistically, I think, unless you are an incredibly impatient invader, first of all, if you're an impatient invader, you need to find a new line of work, or you need to develop some patience, because ultimately the host has to come through here. The host has to come through here. And one thing that I always like to do is look and see if the phantom is password summoned. If the phantoms are password summoned, they're probably partied up, they're probably mic'd, and they can talk together and coordinate and make sure that they all stay patient. But if you are in the situation where you're a host, you've summoned some phantom, it's a random, you're going to be more conscious of their time and the fact that they're probably not going to want to just stand around to avoid confronting an invader, and that's going to make you less patient. Regardless, they have to come through the level at the end of the day. It's the only way forward for them. So if you hang around, my experience is generally a minute or two tops and they'll come through. It sometimes feels like longer, but it's really not very long. And here I want to equip the obscuring ring because I want to be able to hang out just outside of eyesight. And frankly, in the situation, what I should have done, instead of getting rid of Havel, I should have gotten rid of the Hornet Ring. Getting rid of Havel meant I had to reconfigure what I was wearing to shed some excess weight, get rid of one of my weapons. It would have been a much better decision to get rid of the Hornet Ring. But I have such an affection for that ring, and I relied on it so much in my earlier invading days. I probably need to go back and think that through. But here they come. They're kind of poking their way out, and generally what happens in these situations is they'll come out, you'll have a very quick encounter, then they'll run back and they'll hide again. And so you have to kind of keep drawing them out. So fire bombs are obviously really helpful at bringing them out, but I have to tell you that the crossbows are amazing at harassing these parties and getting them to move. I mean, the crossbow with explosive bolts, especially like the Avalon, but I imagine the Arbalest probably isn't too far behind, it does real damage. If I tried to tow it with these guys, the one guy's got the Crow Quills and the other one has, I think, the Black Knight Greatsword. What would happen is Crow Quills guy would invariably hit me once, which would put me in a stun lock. And at that point, the dude with the Black Knight Greatsword is going to absolutely obliterate me. It's a really bad weapon combination for me to face off against. Normally, even when you're facing groups of players, you still are really only fighting one at a time. You really can't fight more than one player at a time. So given how closely these guys are sticking together, I just cannot go and fight them. You saw at the beginning of the video, I got hit by 2 R1s from that weapon, from the Black Knight Greatsword, and it took off probably 65 to 70% of my health. So yeah, I in some ways I hate playing invasions like this. I would much rather just play straight up and fight, but with 2 players who won't separate with weapons like the ones that they have, it would be sheer suicide for me to go in and try to fight them at the same time. But the crossbow is a terrific weapon. You can see here I've been using it to pretty good effect. to keep making this Phantom have to Estus. I think I've made him use a couple of Estus just from the crossbow alone. I'm going to hit him with lightning urns. I'm trying to stay close. I don't want to do the thing where I just keep going in against PvE. I mean, I've got him here by himself, and as long as he's here by himself, I'm going to continue to fight him. I'm not going to make him continue to chase me. You know, making him chase me is not the goal. The goal is to make sure that I have some backup so that both players cannot be 100% focused on me at the same time. Ultimately, I want to fight these guys. I just want to do it in a way that's a bit fair. And I could feel the guy with the crow quills breathing up my neck, so I felt like I had to swing on the guy with the ultra greatsword, even though swinging with a greatsword into a guy with an ultra greatsword is not generally a good play, because what can happen is exactly what did happen. We swung at the same time, and it did a lot of damage to me. So now the host is by himself, and it just becomes a question of what game are we going to play. I think there's about 3 options. Game 1 is run around in circles around the top of this level and just hope I get tired of chasing him around. I've had a lot of people do that to me, especially like in Central Irithyll near the fountain. It can be really frustrating. Game 2 is roll around for a while, then try to hit me with some turn and burns. Typically only see that out of better players, and this guy doesn't seem like he's one of those players. And then game 3, which is the most probable, is he's going to wait and try to pick up a summon sign so he can gain the numbers advantage again. He doesn't seem especially cognizant of my hyper armor when I was two-handing the weapon. So at this point, it's probably going to be pretty easy to just put him away. You know, this fight was won and lost when dealing with 2 players at the same time and getting these guys to come out. And my guess is right there, he stood on the summon sign, but there was a blood stain there, and the blood stains usually take priority, so that's probably what kept him from resummoning. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope this helped. Take care now.